when you want to draw a sketch on a round part, on the diameter of a round part, we would have to create a plane. So because to draw any sketch, it needs a flat surface. So to do that, let's put it in an isometric view. Now on the side note, if we can access views from here, but if you want to keep it on the screen, you can just dock it here, and then there is a little pin button here beside that view. So make sure you pin it, and now it will stay there. So now we can access all the views from here. So let's keep it on an isometric view. In the features, while we are in the feature, we're going to go to reference geometry here and explore that, and we'll pick the plane. And now when you create plane, it will ask for a couple of references to create the plane. So the first reference, we want to pick that diameter where you wanted to create the geometry. Let's say we want to have a keyway on this diameter or on this. So whichever diameter you want, you will pick it on that, click on that diameter. So let's try it here. So I'll pick this diameter. So that will be our first reference. And then for the second reference, I would pick the top view because that's where we want to create, let's say, a keyway. So I'll pick this top view as my second reference. So now it says fully defined, but this is not where we want our plane. We want it on the top. It goes on the side. So it's just by default picks perpendicular option. So we'll just switch it to parallel. So now it comes on the top. So that's the right place, and it's fully defined. So for the plane to work, it needs to be fully defined. And then you just say OK. So now we have that plane. And now anything we create after, it will be created on that plane. So let's go ahead, draw a sketch. So I'm going to just draw a keyway on that plane. So make sure we kind of align it with the center. So that will be my first click, and this is the kind of like the length of the key. And then as you move away, it will give us the width. So just click it anywhere, and then we're going to smart dimension it anyway. So for smart dimension, I would pick the dimension from here to here, the center of the key, or whichever. If you want to dimension it to the end, then do that. And then we would need the length, let's say 1.6, and we're gonna need the width. So that will be kind of what is the key size. So if it's a 1/2 inch key size, I'll pick 1/2 inch. Right, so now once we have all the dimensions, it's fully defined. Now I would say OK. Now if I put it to the isometric view, there is our key. So now we can basically use that sketch to extrude cut into the part. So we go to the feature. This time we will not use extrude, but rather extrude cut. Right. So it picks up that last sketch already, so it's going down. That's the dimension. So the depth of the key will be half the key size plus the M dimension, which we learned earlier in second year, that the key size need to be a little bit deeper because the way the key is starting. So I'll just, for now, we should be calculating that properly with the formula, but I will just make it just 10 thou deeper for now. So 0.26 and say OK. So we have our keyway. Now let's see if we wanted to create, let's say, tap hole on that bigger diameter, and the hole is not perpendicular but rather on a certain angle, then we would create a plane on that angle. So let's practice that. So I would create another plane. So going into the reference geometry, pick the plane. The first reference, same thing. This time I'll click on that bigger diameter because that's where we want. And the second reference, we would do the same thing, like a top plane, and then I'll make it parallel. So that's where our plane is. But now the extra step we need to do is that, let's say the hole I want to create is on a 30-degree angle. Then we can turn on this angle tab and then enter that 30-degree or whichever angle you want, right? So it could be 45, or let's say we're talking about 30, so I'll enter 30 and it goes here, so it's going to be here, right? If it's you want 30-degree on the other side, then you just flip it, right? So now you have 30-degree on that opposite side. So by flipping it, sometimes you can fix it where it goes, and then you just say okay. So now we have that plane. Now the plane looks even a little bit offset, not on that big diameter, but it will work fine. Really make it bigger like that. Okay, so let's create a hole. So I'll go to the features. In the feature, remember we used the hole wizard already. So I'll go there, and this time let's create a tap hole. We have 1/4" 20 tap already selected, so let's do that same thing. So but in the position, remember this time when we are picking the position, I would not click on the part, but rather I'll explore this here and pick that plane which we just created, because that's where you want the hole to be, right? So it will align it with the plane, and then you want to make sure the part, your tap is aligned with the center of the part, like that, and then you just dock it there, and then we can go to the position and smart dimension it. So from here to the center, you know, whatever dimension we have, we can dimension it accordingly. And now it's fully defined, and just say okay, and it will create the tab. So now if I access it, the to the isometric view, you can see it's 30-degree going towards the center. See here, right there. Now remember, if we have those holes, let's say multiple holes on a certain pitch, we can use the revolve feature from the pattern, from linear pattern. So if you explore it, go to circular pattern, and you see it's already picked up that tap hole we created the last. All we need is the axis of rotation. So if I pick this and click one of these cylinders, it will pick the center of that cylinder as a rotation. Now this is if you want to go with the angle, you can go, let's say you wanted to rotate it 45-degree, and how many instances you want, 4, right? So that would do it. Or if you want equal spacing, then we can just check this button and make how many you want, and that's it. Now if you want to rotate multiple features, remember it's here, so you can add more features. Just click on those, whatever you wanted to rotate, and then you say okay, and now we have those 4 holes in there. If we look at this part from the front view, there is this angled face. So let's say if we wanted to create holes on that tapered face or angled face, then we also need to create a plane for that purpose. So how we do that, let's put it back to isometric view. Then in the feature, we go back to reference geometry, pick plane. This time we're going to pick this front face, the flat face basically. So it's already created the plane, which is fully defined because that's a flat reference. So it just need a one reference. But this time we wanted to basically control it with the depth. So we wanted to go to that depth where you want to create that hole. Now the depth of that plane can be controlled or offsetted from this offset button. So if I enter a number, let's say 1 inch, see it's offsetting it. But then we want to offset in the other direction, so we just flip the offset so it goes in there. So we need to take that plane to the start of this taper, which is if you remember the dimension when we sketched it, it was 3 inches. So if I just enter 3 inch, it just goes right at the start of that taper. So somewhere there, basically, you want to keep that plane, or we can go a little bit deeper, but we can try it with that and then see how. So we have that plane, so I'll just say it's already fully defined. We'll say okay, and now we can go back and create tapped holes or whichever holes you wanted to create. So I'll go in hole wizard again, and we're gonna pick the tab. Oh, probably a smaller tab because it's a small face, so maybe 1032. And yeah, we can leave the other sizes. So I'll go to position, and then we're gonna position it on that plane. So I'll just pick that plane, the last one we created, and now here we have that 1032. So just make sure you align it with the center of the part, and we're gonna dock it somewhere here, right? And then we can go back, dimension it, so from the center to this. Yeah, if you want 2.5, then that's already closed, and then you say okay. And now if you see, if you zoom it in, we have that hole there. If I just say okay, you can see it's created the hole, but the chamfer was in the air because the plane is at the start of the taper. So the chamfer, even though in the sketch it's showing, but it didn't model it because it's already kind of it was in the air. So the way to address that is that we can go back and basically edit that plane, so make it deeper a little bit, and then the taper should show up. So I'm just going to click here and add it, and I'll just change this to, let's see, 3.1, and let's see what happened. Okay, so now you see we went too deep, and it did basically, it covered the entrance of the hole. I'll change the plane to let's say 3 inches. Okay, so now we have the chamfer all around, kind of, right? So we can, again, it's because of the you know, the amount of angle. The angle is substantial. That's why the chamfer is way bigger on one side and smaller on the other. But yeah, by changing the depth of the plane and by increasing or decreasing the diameter of the chamfer, we can kind of achieve what we wanted to achieve. Another tip before we try circular patterning that tap hole is that now since we have few planes on the screen, if they are you know, cluttered, then we can always just put them to sleep. So for example, this plane, if you click it and that I button is hide, so it will hide that plane. Similarly, this plane, we can hide them, right? So I'll just, and then I can bring them back by clicking the same button. Okay, so let's keep that. Let's try to circular pattern that tap hole we just created on that tapered face. Okay, so in the feature, once again, we will go to linear pattern, explore that, make it a circular pattern, and now in the rotation here, we're gonna click one of these cylinders for the center of rotation, and what you want to rotate, so this is like number of instances, so it's equally spaced, right? We tried that before, so let's say if you wanted to go instance with the spacing, and I want to have 30 degrees angle, and you want to have 4 holes, right? So that will be spacing with the angle. And then here, what you wanted to rotate basically, So keeping this highlighted, I'll open that side menu, and we wanted to rotate this tap hole 1032. And they're showing us the preview, and then if we say OK, we have those 4 holes spaced at 30 degrees. Right, so let's say if you wanted to go back and make them equally spaced, all we need to do is just click on the pattern icon, add it, and then I can just switch to equally spaced 4 holes, right? And then say OK, and now we have 4 holes equally spaced around the circle.